Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Scott Engler. I'm a published author on contemporary job searching and really branding yourself and using really a customized approach to land your job in a more easy and effortless way. So this podcast is really near and dear to my heart because this is based off actually a post of mine a couple months ago that got a lot of feedback, positive feedback from a lot of job seekers. And I find it's kind of interesting over the years. I noticed that when I'm compassionately angry and I post something on behalf of job seekers and being helpful, it seems to have way more of an impact than if I'm like trying to show like 3 ways to find a job to do this. So this was one of them. It was something about like, do you want the best tip for 2018? Be yourself in your job search. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is a interesting process that I've observed in myself and other job seekers. And I think this is really something that human beings experience. And with that, I'll say I think my personal view on this is that with our information overload, we are being bombarded with so many different ideas of how to do something. And it is crazy. And so if you're just listening right now and you're frustrated and this title is standing out to you, let's just like take a deep breath together, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Okay. So here is this pattern we have. Most of us try to do things on our own, which is great. And then we come to a point where we're just not getting good results. So in this case, it's your job search, right? So picture most people that would probably be listening to this. You've been banging your head against the wall, right? You're doing everything you know how to do in your power to find a job, and you're just either getting bombarded with too many opportunities that don't fit for you, or you're just really not getting to where you want to be. Let's put it that way. And when we get to that place of humility, which is a good thing, we're open and teachable, right? It's like, okay, well, my way isn't working, so I'm open to hearing from people that have been successful on what does work, which is a great place to be. Now, here is the challenge for us. When we're basically, most of us get to a place of being beaten down in a sense of being humbled, right? We don't know what is going to work, right? So we're open. The challenge is that everybody has an opinion on what works and doesn't work, and it just gets super overwhelming. And the part is when we don't know what actually does work and we don't have that confidence, right, in ourselves with this area, then it could become that other challenge where we're getting bombarded with too much information and we're trying this and we're trying that. Basically, we feel like Gumby at one point, right, where we're just trying to stretch ourselves in every which way and we don't know what's right and we feel a different type of worn out and frustrated. So that's who this podcast is for when you're getting to that point. And this is not a bad place to be, mind you. I really do believe that it's a process that all of us need to go through. And I think that if we could bear in mind, what I found at least, is if you could bear in mind just the information overload we have in our society today, where you could go on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and there's so many thought leaders on every area, right? And the problem with that is everybody has their own unique style, and everybody has a different idea of what works and doesn't work. And I saw this a lot when I was a personal trainer a while back, where it was like every single trainer that I worked with, I felt like we were all great in our own way, right? But we all had so many different opinions of like when to stretch, how much cardio you should do. There's so many varying opinions and research, and it just became so exhausting. And after a while, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't care who's right. I don't care who's wrong. I'm just going to focus on what I believe in, right? Like what style I enjoy, following, and what style I share with my clients, right? And they're free to take whatever they want from what I teach them and leave the rest. And that created a lot of space and freedom for me, and a lot more peace too, because then I wasn't caught up in some trainers would just argue to death about how many reps you should do for this and how many reps you shouldn't do and what's a good time to foam roll. And just, there's so many different things out there. And it's going to drive you crazy if you're so obsessed with what's right. And I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but it's like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? So what I think you need to do is be yourself and find somebody that promotes you to be yourself, that teaches, maybe focus on only one or two people if you can, and then just apply one new thing at a time in a way that feels good to you, right? So it's good. You want to find a balance of being open to trying new things, right? Of course. But if you could do it one step at a time and simply, and throughout that process, I would recommend do what feels good for you, right? So if somebody's telling you to, send out 20 emails to HR people every day, and you're like me and you hate email correspondence, then don't do that. Find a different way. Find a different approach for you that works. And actually, one thing I want to share with you guys is the last book I published, which is called Legends of the Recruiting and Career World. I'm going to put it in the information box. It's in the future going to be called Job Seeker of the 21st Century, because that's a more appropriate name. I don't know what I was thinking. But basically, the book is a culmination of contemporary and recent success stories of real-life job seekers that I've interviewed in the last 5 years, and then also has interviews with experts in career development and recruiting, and that's why it got the name it did. But basically, every single person that I interviewed that got the job that they really wanted, and that's why I interviewed them, was they didn't just get a job. They got a job in our new job search, right? And one they wanted. They did something that was a little bit unconventional. And something I shared about in the post was a buddy of mine, actually, that one of the, few of the people I actually knew before the book, during, the interviewing of the book, other people I just had come across either because somebody told me about them or, they reached out to me on LinkedIn or something like that. But basically, my buddy, he went out for this sales position in Los Angeles, and they had been looking for somebody for 6 months prior to him. And during the first interview, they were telling him about what his position would involve, and really it would be like a regional sales manager or director, and what the product was and such and stuff like that. So my friend is he's not a great online researcher, he's a great in-person researcher. So he was true to himself, and what he did differently from everybody else was that day, between his first and second interview, he went to his area and his hometown that they had a few things in those stores, but they hadn't expanded yet. And what he did was he went into his favorite stores with people that he already knew and started shopping around. I mean, because this guy loves clothing anyway. He's totally into even making his own clothes, and he's always got his own unique style. It's really cool. And so he was being true to himself. He went in the stores and he's like, okay, I'm going to look at their products and where they're placed in the store, what's selling well. And so sure enough, he went into 2 or 3 stores, and he was learning about, how things had been selling over the last few months, and what their opinions were of, maybe what they could have more of and stuff like that. So by the time of his second interview, he legitimately had a plan of action of how he was going to get more of their products in more of the stores in his area, and blew away the CEO and got hired on the spot. after 6 months of they're interviewing people. It's a really good position, right? Hired on the spot because he was being true to himself. Now, I don't know anybody that would give that specific advice, right? And we could get so caught up in, if you do this, you gotta, get 8 hours of rest before interview, or practice, mock interview in between the first and second. He didn't do that. I mean, I do think it is a great idea to do mock interviews, right? But in this case, he had a limited amount of time, and he used that being himself. He did something different. And there's a lot of other stories I'm not going to get into, but in this book, Legends of the Recruiting and Career World, I think there's about 6 or 7 interviews, and every single person, from college students to baby boomers that I've interviewed for this book, did something unique and different that separated them from the rest and helped them get the job they wanted. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't already heard of this book, to get it. It's got some amazing stories in it, and it's also happens to have interviews with the top experts in the world in career and recruiting on the second section too. So you're getting real life stories of job seekers, and then you're getting backed up with experts and what their recommendations are of what people could do in today's economy to land jobs, and to how to ace the interview and stuff like that. So, but my point is that he wasn't going by the rules, right, or what someone told him. He was being true to himself, and he loves his job. 2 years later, I still talk to him. He loves what he does. He's been doing extremely well at that role because he was designed for it. His personality, what he loves anyway, is perfect for that position. And that's really the bottom line. When we're not true to ourselves and we do something in a way that somebody else suggests, then we're not going to really attract and align with the opportunities that are near and dear to what we're passionate about and what we're best suited for. So you're doing yourself a disservice when you're not being true to yourself. And it's such a relief, right? So what my recommendation is, right, is find that blend of being yourself with the advice you get, right? So I want to reiterate, if you, up until now, your best thinking and actions, if you're, applying online to job search boards and you're spending 20 hours a week doing that and you're not getting the right opportunities, stop doing that, because it's not a good, effective strategy, right? So listen to people when they tell you it's not a good, effective strategy. But if, let's say people are like, optimize your LinkedIn profile, and even within that, when I work with clients, people are like, should I put these keywords here? Should I put them here? And then people get so into like, well, this person said to do it this way, and this person said to do it that way. So if you're finding yourself, that's my point. If you're finding yourself get to that place, then you need to simplify things and do what feels good for you, right? So people are like, should I write articles or should I post videos? Or, Scott, should I put this here? It's just like, look, do what feels good for you. If you don't like writing articles, then don't write articles. If you don't want, if you don't feel like you're good on camera or something, or enjoy it, or been told that you're a good speaker, then don't be a speaker. Do something that feels good for you. If you enjoy in-person networking a lot more than, networking online, then network in person. If you enjoy volunteering, to meet new people, and that's gotten you jobs in the past, then volunteer. Find a balance of doing things that, work in today's marketplace better, but also find in that a way to be yourself. That's really the message, is find ways whenever possible to blend in tips and strategies that work in a way that feels authentic to you. So that's the message today. Really excited to announce too, I just brought on a 17-time award-winning recruiter and HR director, and really excited to have her be a part of our team here at BYOB Coaching and Consulting, which stands for Building Your Own Brand. So we now have we've combined forces. So the reason I'm excited about it is because it's the first service I know about where you're actually having someone like me, who was a job seeker for many years, and that's how I got my start on LinkedIn, and helps job seekers. And then someone on the other end, right? The recruiter who's looking and the HR person who's looking at the profiles to bring them in for interviews. So you're getting both sides of the point of view to be as successful as possible. And we are excited to bring this service to you guys together. Like I said, I don't know anything else like this on the market right now. And if you are interested in this, right now we're working mainly with middle to senior management people. And I would encourage you to send me an email with the word serious inquiry, and her and I will set up a call with you here in the next couple weeks. Again, to specify, serious inquiry means that you're done hitting your head against the wall, you're done exploring, you're ready to do something different, right? So that's what serious inquiry means. Both of us, we could only talk to so many people. We're human beings in a given week, month. So, if you're not in that place yet, I'd encourage you to keep listening to content and keep, finding ways to be authentic in your own search. But if you're at that place where you're like, I know I need to do something differently, I need the accountability, I want somebody to help me get my profile looking different than 99% of the other job seekers, we're your people. Again, Scott Engler, send me an email on LinkedIn and we'll talk. Again, remember, experiencing different results starts by first asking different questions and taking different actions, one step at a time. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great week.